start to the season. I'm ready to kick this thing off. Excited. Truly excited. Well, it's MTSU week, first week of the Commodore football season. Really excited about this team, this game. Great opponent. Our football team's worked extremely hard to get to this point. We've got a great summer. Everybody's gotten better. Top to bottom, offense, defense, special teams. I think we're a better football team, but right now you're just going through the process of really just trying to get guys to play fast, play hard, and know that Saturday shouldn't bring about a bunch of questions for us. We need to answer our questions in practice, and I feel like that's what this team's done. They've done a really good job of staying in the moment. I tell these guys, be where your feet are, and I believe that that's important for this football team as we look to open it up versus the Blue Raiders. The team that we're playing is extremely talented, led by Coach Rick Stockstill. This team has been to 7 bowl games in 8 years, 5 consecutive. And this football team is experienced. Brent Stockstill is one of the best quarterbacks in the country, and probably one of the best pure passers that we'll see this season. So to see him week 1 is an extreme challenge for us, and that's what we want. We've worked extremely hard to get ourselves acclimated to what they do. Doesn't mean that we're seeing the same speed and the same looks, but I do know this. Our team, our black ops squads, we try to do a good job of just trying to give us the looks that we need. And right now, I think all the way around that we just need to face somebody else. You can only practice so much against yourselves. Just getting back to MTSU, Scott Schaefer, new defense coordinator. I've known Scott for a while. He's a tremendous coordinator. Pressure packages, single high safety looks. He's gonna give our offense some looks that we need to be prepared for. Obviously, he was at Syracuse. It's a little he's working with a little different personnel, but he still has a talented defensive group to work with. And special teams wise, MTSU is always giving us a fight. So I think from top to bottom, their team's going to be ready. Our team's going to be ready. And with that, I'll open it up to questions.
What's your history with Scott Schaefer, and does that mean that takes the mystery out of what they're going to do because you do know him?
No, it doesn't take the mystery out of it, but I think as you coach in this profession, longer, and you start to get years on you. Scott was at Stanford before I was. Okay, so him, Lance Anderson, and a couple of guys there. We've all remained fairly close, just in terms of a tight circle of coaches. When they talk defensive ball from time to time, and so as you look at his career and what he's done, he's done a good job of coaching good defense. They're going to be physical. It's going to be a pressure package. From top to bottom, to stop the run and make sure that they hit the quarterback. And for us, we're going to put a lot of stress on that offensive line to protect the quarterback. So it's sort of what we expect. I think, like most coordinators, you really don't change like who you are. You may tweak a thing or two here or there, but for the most part, you can track a coordinator's DNA and really see what they're going to do. Now, he has different personnel, so that may change some of the things that he does, but for the most part, we are who we are.
How much have you worked on, because they're going to send pressure based on what he's done in the past.
Right.
How much did you guys work on that in practice, and how confident are you that you're ready to handle it?
Are we any different? I mean, I think at the end of the day, we're pressure defense as well. So with that being the case, you go good on good. You bring your heat. You try to give those guys looks. From time to time, that may look like some of the things that they may get from MTSU. But we've done a lot of good on good, just so we can get the speed of the game and we can replicate that in practice. So I think as we worked on MTSU stuff offensively and defensively as well as special teams, I think the great thing about what we've done is get good on good, periods, competitive periods, going where we can get good speed on good speed. So I think our offense has seen probably as much pressure as they're going to see on Saturday. So we got to get ready to play the game.
With their offense, I mean, you assume they're going to complete passes because they throw those short, quick throws. The key
Right.
just to get guys to the ground then as soon as they catch the ball, or
Like most teams, Coach Franklin, their offense coordinator, has done a terrific job, wherever he's been putting up great numbers. And so when you look at them, I think last year, and they threw for 399 yards. They rushed for 100 and some yards, and that's their MO. That's what they do. Is speed and space. It's run pass option. That's what you're going to see. Fake it to the running back, play action. Quick game, bubbles on the perimeter. We're going to see a lot of what we saw in the bowl game. I mean, if I'm in TSU, I go back and look at the NC State game, and I'm going to test exactly who they are. And test us and see if we've fixed any of those issues. And in the bowl game, we saw about 8 perimeter screens. So I would expect that TSU is going to put the ball on the perimeter and make us tackle, make us get it on the ground. And that's really who they are. So we're going to see it early and often.
You've mentioned Brent Stockstill before, but a lot of times people say a great player at a mid-major school like him and Richie James, they're really good, but if they're at SEC school, but put in context, if those two guys are at an SEC school, what type of players are they?
Extremely good players. I think they're saying Brent Stockstill's good name. No matter where he is, he could be at Florida, and if he was at Florida, he'd be one of the top quarterbacks in the country. Richie James could be at Missouri, and he'd be one of the top receivers in the country. I think those guys are dynamic, and so that's sort of, to me, talking about a guy like Ben Roethlisberger. Ben Roethlisberger was a great quarterback in Miami. He went to the NFL, and he's still a great quarterback. So I think great players are great players. It doesn't matter where you're playing at. It's what you do. It's about your production. This is a production game, and those guys have produced as good as any two players in college football.
What have you learned? This is your fourth opener now. What have you taken from your last three that you now know that maybe helps you going forward to this one?
Let's focus. Let's work a little harder. Let's start a little faster, and let's get a victory.
Is that kind of a chip on your shoulder too, that you haven't yet done that?
Yeah, man. It's a chip. It sits there. It stares me in the face every day. And I haven't let this football team forget it. Everybody can talk about what MTSU is playing for, but I know exactly what we're playing for. Okay, man, we haven't won a season opener since I've been here. It's on our minds. That's why we're working hard every day. I'm grinding these guys. I'm grinding them to the bone. Believe me, there's no okay. We're going to line up, and this is going to be a game, and we're going to let the chips fall where they may. No, we're going to bring the fight to them, and hopefully MTSU's ready to play, because we will be.
Derek, looking at your offensive line, you appear to be ready to start 2 redshirt sophomores and a redshirt freshman.
Yeah.
How have they kind of gelled with Kyle Shermer and with a lot of turnover being there on the offensive line?
They're gelling. I mean, if you look at my history here at Vanderbilt, I've had to start young guys, consistently. I remember when I started just in school a couple years ago, and that young man had to go out there and play in the SEC, line up and play football, and he's turned into a pretty good football player. So, new players, start year in and year out. I mean, that's nothing new in college football. Guys just have to take the challenge, mentally be ready to play, and, play the game. Play to play, man, you got to have a focus and a discipline that allows you to do the job. You can't worry about being perfect on any play, because football's not a perfect game. It's an imperfect game played by imperfect people chasing perfection.
You had some of your key players there out on the offensive line. How hard was it to adjust as you were moving parts around? Did having to adjust help you in terms of flexibility? And how satisfied are you that you've got a group that's healthy and ready to go there?
Well, the idea of having to move guys around, that's part of what every offensive line does. I mean, you're trying to find best players. A guy who may have been a great center a year ago may be a guard this year. I mean, the competition, from top to bottom has been fantastic, as I've seen guys like Shaman Moore, grow up. I've seen Sage Young step into the fold. You see Bailey Grimian go inside and outside. You see Sothers play inside and outside. That's the versatility that we're looking for. Now what you got to do is put the best 5 athletes on the field and let these guys gel, and that's what Cam's really worked hard to do in the last 2 weeks. Get this group going in the right direction and make sure, man, that the continuity is there for the quarterback, because if the quarterback's comfortable, everybody's comfortable.
what kind of things we're going to see from the quarterback, just based on his experience and development that maybe we haven't seen in the past?
He looked pretty good to me. When I watched him in practice, we've done a good job of heating him up, and his feet are better. I looked, and he knows how to get us in and out of plays. He knows how to extend a play. his feet are much more fluid in the pocket. His movement is much more fluid. And the thing that he's always been able to do is keep his eyes down the field. He's never been afraid of the rush. So I think when you can couple the maturity with the mastery of some nuances that he's had this offseason, I think it's going to make for a good year for Kyle Sherman.
Ralph has had a lot of success in this game the last 2 years. The fact that they have a new defensive coordinator and new personnel, does that change anything? Is it still primarily you need to go with Ralph as much as you can on offense?
Absolutely. I mean, and, you know, here's the thing. Ralph has been a workhorse for this Vanderbilt offense for the last 3 years, and that's not going to change. But what's changed is the guys around him: Trent Sherfield, C.J. Duncan, Caleb Scott, Kalijah Lipscomb, Donovan Tennyson, Pinckney, Dobbs. I mean, I can just keep going. We've got guys that have grown up around him, and I think that's the most important piece. It's not about one guy anymore. It's about the balance. I mean, if you want to load the box, load the box. We got guys that can win the one-on-one outside. If you think I'm lying, go back and check the tape. Go back and look at, Ole Miss and Tennessee. There's guys that can win on the outside. So I feel as good about our balance on offense as I've felt since I've been here. And I think that's what we have to do. It's not about one guy. It's about what we can do, to make sure that we have balance in what we do. And along with that, you got Kari, you got Jamari Wakefield. I'm looking at our running back situation, and I'm saying, man, that I feel pretty good about where we're at.
How do you feel about depth on your front seven?
It's as athletic as it's ever been. Up front, experience with those starting three, and then after that, once you start to look at, Jay Woods, once you start to look at Darian, what he does, you feel good. But now, man, we got some young guys. Dio, Darian's younger brother, Odin Negro, he's gonna step on the field and he's gonna play. Young Pinckney is gonna play, defensively. As I look at it, Cam's gonna play inside, and I feel good about what Cam's gonna do. So our depth is good. I think we're more athletic in terms of pass rush ability than we've ever been. I mean, we've got guys who are pretty tremendous with their first step, and I'm going to let these guys play. We're going to let these dudes hunt. We talk about the linebacker position. It's just about making sure, man, that we keep a fresh group in. As I look at it, Orrin Burks, maybe look at Emmanuel Smith, being the starters. Those guys have played football in this conference. They haven't started a ton of games at inside backer, man, but they're SEC, hardened. So I think these guys are going to play well for us. They can go sideline to sideline. They can match in coverage. So speed-wise, we are as good in matchup coverage or running sideline to sideline as we've been in the last 3 years. So that makes well for a good front seven. But I think what we're going to have to do is rely on guys like Charles Wright and really Josh Smith outside. Those guys are experienced, they're long, they're athletic, they can rush the passer, they can drop in coverage. This front seven has something to it, man, that hasn't been here in the last couple of years. So again, and we'll see come Saturday night, 7 o'clock.
You're obviously excited about the offensive balance you just talked about. When
Yeah.
you have a guy that's as good as Ralph Webb,
Yeah,
how many touches does he need to get from you?
20, 30, 40. Yeah.
How do you achieve the balance between the 50 carries?
Hey, listen, man, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Hey, man, if we can give it to him 50 times and throw it 10 times and create some one-on-ones on the outside, then I'm with it. I feel like this offense, Ralph's going to get his touches in this offense. I'm not worried about, the exact number. We know when he gets around 20 touches, he's pretty effective. We're pretty effective offensively. So obviously we're going to try to be somewhere in there. So we'll see on Saturday.
This is also the third straight year now that you played middle, the second time down there. There be a lot of schools around the country that don't want to play a school like that, especially on the road. What is it that you like about this matchup?
You know what? College football is college football. It's the first game of the season. Obviously, you've got two teams who are only 25 minutes from each other. It's somewhat of a rivalry, just in terms of what it looks like. Like on paper, these schools respect one another. They're going to play hard, and they are a team to be reckoned with. I mean, they've won bowl games, they've won ball games. They're as good, a mid-major as you're going to find, and really, as I look at it right now, as good a test as we can get coming into this season. They're going to test us, we're going to test them.
Derek, you've seen Kyle kind of grow up in this program over the last 3 years. In what area has he made the most strides in between when he got here 3 years ago and now?
To me, the biggest part is just leadership and mastery of the offense. And those are two things, but those are two areas for a quarterback that you want. Okay, you know, leadership, because in this game, you know, good things happen, bad things happen. It's all about your leadership. It's all about how your leadership can handle the ebb and flow, okay, and get us from where we are to where we need to be. And then when you talk about mastery of the offense, that's something that just takes time. He understands who he has, he understands the matchups, he understands where to go with the football, and he understands how to get us in the right play. And I think that takes time. But once you have that, and I've been around that before. I've been around it at Stanford, was around it in Minnesota when we had Brett Favre, okay, and we went to the NFC Championship game. Anytime you have a quarterback who understands what he's looking at and can get you in the right play, your chances for success go up tremendously.
Do you have a linebacker kind of like Zach was last year, where you just like, I don't want to take this guy off the field if at all possible?
Yeah, Emmanuel Smith and Owen Burks. Both of those guys, you know, 4 or 5 guys that can run sideline to sideline. I mean, they're very much, they're different than Zach, but they have some of the same attributes. You know, Owen Burks is finally for the first time, you know, at 230 pounds. I mean, that's saying something for him, because he had always hovered around 220, you know, and 216. I mean, even when he played safety. But now when you look at him, he looks bigger, he looks faster, hasn't lost a step, and can cover. And in this conference, especially when you play teams like Middle, they're gonna walk you outside the box. So that guy's got to step outside the box and sometimes cover a receiver, okay, like with help. And I don't care what they do. They can try to put the receiver in the backfield if they want to. Both Warren and Emmanuel have both had to cover receivers. So when they go zoo and they put the receiver in the backfield, that's nothing new for us. Those guys have covered those types of guys before. So again, extremely excited about the balance and the idea that I don't necessarily have to take guys off the field.
Is that another way of saying you don't have to play nickel when Warren's on the field as much?
Absolutely, absolutely.
One more.
As far as Oren, talking about in coverage, but as far as running in the running backs and handling the ground game, is he going to be similar to Cunningham, or is there a drop off there and handling the run with
I don't know if
him?
there's a drop off. I know that he's played as physical ball, you know, as he's played since I've been here, and I think that comes with the territory. But it also comes with being coached by Chris Marr. I mean, you know, that's par for the course. If you're gonna play for him and you're gonna be a physical dude, that's an everyday process. So you can't wean away from that. This camp has been as physical for those guys as it's needed to be. And right now, when you've got guys with long leverage, both of those guys are 6'2 plus. They've got long leverage and they can run. And I think that's the prototype of what we want here at Vanderbilt University.
Thanks, Mace.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Hey, thanks.